Yeah, mentally, emotionally, I'm in a great place overall. In life, it's always going to be adversity. Things aren't always going to go, as planned. But I would say, I'm prepared for everything.
The way they've handled whatever. I have no idea how good Shedeur Sanders is or isn't, what his lot in life is to be or isn't. But the way they've handled this situation from the very beginning has been absolutely ridiculous.
Then it's a bad situation. The worst thing that could probably happen for Kevin Stefanski is if he goes out there and balls, because then it's going to be,
where's this been?
Why hasn't he played from the very beginning?
The Cleveland Browns are about to throw Shedeur Sanders into the fire this Sunday against the Raiders. And folks, this isn't just another rookie debut. This is a powder keg ready to explode. Kevin Stefanski finds himself in what might be the most impossible situation of his coaching career. And here's the kicker. Some are saying he's actually hoping Shedeur fails. Why? Because if Sanders balls out, if he lights up that Vegas defense and shows the world what he's capable of, then every single decision Stefanski made this season gets exposed as organizational malpractice. Think about it. The Browns drafted 2 quarterbacks in the same draft, Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. They buried Sanders on the depth chart. They didn't give him first-team reps. They treated a 5th-round pick like he was radioactive. And now, only because Gabriel is in concussion protocol, Sanders finally gets his shot. Let's be crystal clear about what's happening here. This isn't a feel-good story about a young quarterback getting his opportunity. This is a potential indictment of an entire front office's decision-making process. Dan Orlovsky laid it out perfectly, and honestly, it's the most accurate analysis you'll hear all week. Listen to what he said.
Kevin Stefanski is truly in a no-win situation because, to your point, if he plays bad, then it's a bad situation. The worst thing that could probably happen for Kevin Stefanski is if he goes out there and balls, because then it's going to be,
where's this been?
Why hasn't he played from the very beginning?
Read that again. The worst thing that can happen for the head coach is if his quarterback plays well. Let that marinate. This is where we are with the Cleveland Browns in 2025, a franchise so dysfunctional, so backwards in their decision-making, that success is viewed as more damaging than failure. Because success asks questions. Success demands accountability. Success exposes the truth. And the truth is ugly. But let's pump the brakes on the Shedeur Sanders hype train for just a second, because there's another side to this story that everyone needs to understand. Orlovsky didn't just criticize Stefanski, he also threw a massive bucket of cold water on expectations for Sanders' debut. He dropped this reality check.
Temper expectations. The Browns are bad. They are, at talent-wise, they're probably one of the 3 worst talented offenses in the NFL.
And he's not wrong. Look at what Sanders is walking into. This isn't Alabama. This isn't some college all-star team. This is an NFL roster that's been gutted, mismanaged, and left for dead. Orlovsky continued with even more brutal honesty about what we should realistically expect.
They don't have a good receiving group. They don't have a good offensive line. What you want to see from Shedeur: can you handle the huddle? Can you operate? Can you play quick and clean? And then can you move up in the pocket?
So when Sanders inevitably struggles, and let's be honest, there's a very high chance he struggles, what happens? Does Cleveland say, well, the kid had no chance with this roster? Or do they say, see, we told you he wasn't ready? Mike Greenberg absolutely unloaded on the Browns organization, and he didn't hold back. This might be the most damning indictment of the franchise's decision-making you'll hear all year.
The next time a team takes 2 quarterbacks in the same draft, just point back to this. It never made sense. The way they've handled whatever. I have no idea how good Shedeur Sanders is or isn't, what his lot in life is to be or isn't. But the way they've handled this situation from the very beginning has been absolutely ridiculous.
Organizational malpractice. Those are nuclear words in the NFL. That's not just criticism. That's an accusation that the people running this team have no idea what they're doing. And the scary part? He might be absolutely right. Think about the sheer insanity of drafting 2 quarterbacks in the same draft when you're a team desperate for playmakers, desperate for offensive line help, desperate for weapons. The Browns took 2 guys at the same position and then proceeded to bury one of them so deep on the depth chart that he needed another quarterback to get concussed just to see the field. This isn't normal. This isn't standard NFL procedure. This is chaos disguised as a plan. Now here's where things get really fascinating, because there's a massive divide in how analysts are approaching Sanders' debut. On First Things First, the analysts took a completely different approach. They talked about recalibrating expectations, about being realistic with what we should demand from a fifth-round rookie making his first start.
Expectations for Shedeur Sanders is a stock down moment. Shedeur Sanders should be compared to fifth-round draft picks or later making their first start in their rookie season.
They brought up stats showing fifth-round rookies making their first start historically complete around 51% of their passes, throw for about 135 yards, and post passer ratings in the 50s. By those standards, Sanders doesn't have to be Patrick Mahomes. He just has to be competent. But here's the problem with that logic. It ignores reality. It ignores the circus that surrounded Sanders since before the draft. It ignores that his father is Deion Sanders. It ignores that he's been a media sensation, that expectations were built up, that the Browns themselves created this monster by drafting him in the first place and then refusing to play him. And this is where it gets personal, because Dan Hawkins, yes, that Dan Hawkins, jumped into the conversation with some real talk that every Browns fan needs to hear.
Quickly, what do you expect?
I'm not tempering expectations. I got him throwing for 250. I got him on this is Garmin right here, but I got him throwing for a couple.
Throw that Garmin up.
250.
Throw that Garmin
I'm
up.
excited for the young man.
But then Hawkins added something crucial, something that speaks to the human element of this whole situation.
I'm saying I'm rooting for him because I didn't get drafted. I was somebody buried on a depth chart, and like sitting back and seeing it unfold, I could have been on the other side of the fence at this point. But you always know that your moment is going to come, your opportunity is going to come.
That's real. That's from someone who's lived it. Someone who knows what it's like to wait, to be overlooked, to finally get your shot and know you can't waste it. Because here's the brutal truth that everyone's dancing around. This might be Shedeur Sanders' only shot. Fifth-round picks don't get multiple opportunities. They don't get years to develop. They get a game, maybe 2, maybe 3 if they're lucky. And if they don't show something, anything, they're done. The Raiders are beatable. Their defense has holes. But they also have Crosby, who's going to live in the Cleveland backfield if that offensive line doesn't step up. And remember what Orlovsky said, they don't have a good offensive line. So what's Sanders supposed to do? How's he supposed to operate when he's got defenders in his face every other play, when his receivers can't get separation, when the running game isn't working? This game matters beyond just Cleveland's season. This game is about Sanders' career. This game is about Stefanski's credibility. This game is about whether the Browns front office knows what they're doing. And the most terrifying part, everyone's watching for different reasons. Browns fans are watching to see if they finally found something, anything, to be hopeful about. Deion Sanders is watching to see what happens to his son in a system that never wanted to play him. Other NFL teams are watching to see if they should be making calls about Sanders' availability. And Stefanski might be watching and hoping it all falls apart, because at least then he can say, see, I was right.
We are going to talk about him like he is just a normal fifth-round pick, then we must also acknowledge, for a normal fifth-round pick, there is a decent chance this is the only start of his career in the NFL.
Here's what we know for sure. Shedeur Sanders is starting Sunday against the Raiders. He'll have a full week of first-team reps. He'll be playing for his career, even if this is just his first start. What we don't know is whether he's walking into an opportunity or a trap, whether the Browns are finally giving him a fair shot or setting him up to fail so they can justify their earlier decisions. The cynical view says Stefanski is rooting for failure. The hopeful view says everyone in that building wants to win, wants to find answers, wants to discover they had a diamond in the rough all along. Reality is probably somewhere in between. But Sunday will tell us everything we need to know, not just about Shedeur Sanders, but about what kind of organization the Cleveland Browns really are. Because if Sanders balls out, if he shows he was ready all along, then every single person who kept him on the bench has some serious explaining to do. And if he struggles, if he looks overwhelmed and unprepared, then Cleveland can pat themselves on the back and say they were right all along. Either way, Kevin Stefanski can't win. The Browns can't win. And Shedeur Sanders, he's just trying to prove he belongs. Sanders said it best himself.
I would be doing a disservice to myself and disservice to the organization if I didn't feel like I am the guy. I'm just excited for everything. So, I feel like I'm the guy. I know I'm the guy, but you'll just have to be able to see.
Sunday, we find out if he's right. Sunday, we find out if the Browns made a massive mistake. Sunday, we find out if Kevin Stefanski was hoping for failure all along. The clock is ticking, the stage is set, and one way or another, the truth is about to come out. Welcome to Cleveland, Shedeur. Try not to let them break you.